In an arid land where the windmills, which once inspired Miguel de Cervantes and his Don Quixote of La Mancha, danced to the rhythm of dreams, the beginning of a story was woven. A tale entwined with threads of passion and tradition that traversed generations, defying adversity. In that setting of giants and immortal words, my family found its destiny, shaping a legacy that refuses to fade with time. From resonating looms to hands weathered by ancestral craftsmanship, each woven strand stands as a testament to our tireless struggle to preserve the dignity of wool. This is the story of the Cobo family, a journey from desolation to hope, where the passion for a dying craft becomes a song of resilience and tenacity. My name is Julian Cobo, and though I'm no longer among you, let me share the story of my family with you. Over a century ago, at a young age, I began working at Victoriano Lopez's blanket workshop in Mota. This family, without descendants, embraced me as a son, imparting the intricacies of the craft. After the owner's retirement, the responsibility of running the workshop and carrying on the complete process of blanket production fell to me. Scouring, carding, spinning, and weaving the wool on looms. Later, I married and had 4 children. 2 of them, Ramon and Teodoro, at a tender age, joined me in the laborious task of crafting blankets and capes, meant to shelter shepherds and protect the working animals that roamed these lands of La Mancha. Together, as a family, we selected wool fleeces, descended to the river to scour and meticulously prepare them for carding and spinning, later to weave into blankets and capes. In the workshop, the sounds of looms intertwining and the rhythmic clacks of the shuttle crossing the fabric became a melodic symphony. Amid the waters of the river and the looms, we forged a legacy. My family's story evolved into an epic chant transcending time. Back then, little could I envision the changes my family and the craft would face with the imminent arrival of agricultural machinery. The advent of tractors became a severe issue that struck our family business hard. Mules, essential for our work, grew increasingly scarce, relentlessly replaced by agricultural machinery. The shepherds, proud guardians of their flocks, diminished slowly, leaving a desolate void. This led to the once highly valued mule blankets and capes becoming unnecessary. The blankets and capes could no longer sustain the entire family's work. There were barely enough sales to support my own wage. In desperation, my sons Ramon and Teodoro were compelled to go to Madrid to work and financially support the family. But after a time in the capital, seeing that I was reluctant to let the family business perish, an epiphany illuminated their hearts. Looking back to our family roots convinced them that their duty didn't reside in the bustling streets of Madrid, but in the town of Mota, where the essence of their lineage lay. Still, after more than half a century, the looms echoed for the last time, breaking a family tradition that had persisted through generations. Our tireless weaving family had devoted their lives to transforming yarns into warm blankets. It was time to adapt to change. Teodoro and Ramon decided to venture into manufacturing yarns for carpets, cloths, and rugs in the small workshop, which later grew into a factory. This sacrifice allowed them to move forward, expand the business, and later establish a scouring workshop in Mota del Cuervo. At the same time, the two brothers married two sisters, Ava and Alicia, living together in a house where several children, raised as siblings, were born. Despite the hardships, my grandchildren aided their parents, carefully selecting wool and keeping the love for the craft alive. My grandchildren learned from my sons all that I taught them, and when the right moment arrives, they too would pass down their knowledge to their children. They learned to understand, to care for, and to love the wool as its value deserved. They were instructed through the entire wool process, from fiber selection to final spinning, including tackling mechanical issues. Eventually, my grandsons Leopoldo, Teodoro's eldest, and Ramon's son joined their parents in the factory. Meanwhile, Ramon and Teodoro nostalgically recalled their youth in the thriving Spanish wool industry when wool was an international treasure. Their tales evoked an era filled with passion and warmth, now seeming like a distant dream. In a tragic twist of fate, tragedy struck my family as Teodoro, Ramon's inseparable brother, passed away in a tragic accident. Ramon had to take over the family business alone this time, but his heart was so burdened by grief that the story of this family tradition once again was in danger. At the same time, Teodoro's youngest son, Jesus, who had debuted as a professional footballer that same year, with expectations of playing in First Division and fulfilling his childhood dream at just 20 years old, made a tough decision to abandon professional football and return to Mota to help preserve the family tradition. Despite my family's efforts, the wool industry languished in obscurity. Declining consumption and prices, the costs, the strong pressure from synthetic fibers and fast fashion, as my grandson calls it, changed everything. The Spanish wool textile industry is not a mere reflection of its past. The noble labor of breeding and transforming wool, once a thriving business, turned into a desperate and exhausting struggle to keep a tradition alive. After a while, upon realizing that our scouring workshop is one of the last 3 remaining out of the over 70 that once existed in Spain, the family business reinvents itself once more. A love for wool, passed down to my descendants, propels them to seek an alternative path, aiming to dignify both wool and the craft for which my family has, at times, given their very lives. Thus, Wooldreamers is born, collaborating with local producers to embark on a mission to highlight the value of wool as a raw material. In 2021, the first collection of sustainable yarns is created, uniting local breeders and the wonderful knitting community ensuring fair prices and minimizing environmental impact. The Wooldreamers family dedicates themselves entirely to revaluing wool as a sustainable alternative. This year, my old blanket factory was restored, and with it, the textile tradition comes to life once more. Once again, the celestial melody that was silenced 40 years ago is heard. The hum of the looms and the clatter of shuttles, everything comes back to life. Wooldreamers reclaims the family legacy of crafting blankets and other wool products and introduces the Wool for Life line, ensuring environmental, social, and economic sustainability at every stage. And now I retire with the certainty that my family has rekindled the family tradition in harmony with nature, feeling proud to know that I could not have left it in better hands. To be continued. In homage to Ramon, Teodoro, and grandfather Julian for having passed on the passion and love for this craft.